Well, this is going to be a weird comparison video, but I still wanted to make it overall. So, what we have here, probably a very familiar knife for those of you who are familiar with my channel or TwoSun knives in general. This is TS129. It is a night morning design here. I have in front of me the original version here with the nicely done carbon fiber front scale, titanium back scale here with the titanium clip mounted internally there with a little bit of weight relieving going on with the titanium scale here. And I also have this guy here. This is the Maxace Black Mirror. This has titanium handles. In this particular case, it has raindrop uh, carbon fiber kind of a cut going on, but there are also some that are just flat slab titanium instead. We also have an internally mounted pocket clip here, and we have M390 as well on this guy here. And we can see there is a little bit of size difference kind of going on here. But not a huge amount as far as actual blade length is concerned. There is a bit for sure. We can see that there, but not a vast amount going on here. I've seen a lot of people have really good impressions on this guy here, and I share a lot of them, but maybe not all of them. So that's why I'm talking about this here. But of course, we also do have a much newer variant of this guy. This is using kind of their newer higher thread count canvas micarta, still titanium backspacer titanium backspacer and back. But this guy has a D2 blade on him, but still vastly more affordable than either of these two models here, especially nowadays when a lot of people are very familiar with this model. So, yes. So, first thing that I would want to kind of talk about here is the heat treat. And Maxace, a lot of people do have pretty high expectations as far as their heat treat goes. They seem to have a little bit of a better track record, or at least reported track record, than a lot of others. I don't find that to be the case here with this guy here, the Black Mirror. At least my particular copy of it, it's been on the soft side. It was fairly darn easy to do a reprofile on this guy, and I have found that I need to strap this guy back up a lot more than I do with some other M390s and stuff like that. So, not exactly winning any awards with the heat treat going on here, which is interesting because some other folks have had a lot of other really good experiences. I've had great experiences with Maxace with their K110, their Bowler D2 variants and stuff like that, but much easier heat treating process than something like this. So, in that particular case, with my particular M390 here on my TwoSun, which TwoSun, especially the older ones, also not really known for doing a great job on their powder metallurgy steels. This one still ends up edging it out as far as performance on this guy here. Next up, we have lock bar access. 4 days. To a detriment as far as my hand is concerned. I think it's much more designed for you to fully choke up on this guy, so you're not putting a lot of pressure, at least from your index finger, going on here. And in that particular case, it's all right. I don't really mind that, but my hand mostly wants to be back here. And for me, this is way too much lock bar access to the point where that's just digging in rather than distributing that over both sides there. So I do kind of find that a little bit uncomfortable. We have a ridiculous amount of a sharpening toil on here, though, so that's fantastic. You won't end up getting a smile like you will on the TS129 as you sharpen things up. because the plunge grind happens long before you actually get to the blade. So that's a pretty good one there. The action on both of them, pretty darn fantastic. Of course, the blade on the TwoSun is quite a bit heavier overall, so that will certainly help that out a bit. So, something that I have noticed on this guy here is the difficulty sometimes in actually trying to get this open using the thumb hole on it. And that's not me really putting any pressure on the lock bar overall, but you do have to have a certain finesse with it. Something that makes me basically exclusively open this thing with a reverse flick on it. Whereas I really don't have any problems whatsoever um, deploying this guy pretty much at all. You can even have the top flipper or front flipper, not top flipper, sort of thing going on there. Still, we do have nice lock bar access on the 129 here, but it doesn't feel like it's digging into me. I can still choke up if I'd like, but it's equally comfortable in both of those. And we do have jimping up top here, which is decidedly lacking on the black mirror, which I really do prefer. So I think the ergonomics went out on this guy. That and it's contoured on both sides, whereas the black mirror here is flat slab all day long. The pocket clips on both of them end up working out quite well. The it does basically extend over onto the actual lock bar cutout on this, rather than only making contact up here on the solid scale, which is a little annoying. It almost kind of looks about the same on here, but yeah, they don't quite feel about the same with some of that stuff. Just the pocket clip on here does feel like it interferes a bit too much with the lock bar interface, but of course your mileage may vary on that. So let's talk about blade stock thickness, and well, I'll have to pull this up because this has a swedge. Otherwise, we can see definitely a difference in thickness. This guy is 4 millimeter blade stock thickness at the ricasso area here, and we have a little over 3 millimeters here. However, we have pretty similar geometry once it actually gets down there. Just this guy will have a bit thicker of a time up top here beforehand, but you know, it still has a great geometry. I can't really complain so much about any of that. It's not like it's thick enough that it's going to crack an apple instead of do a nice slice to it. So yeah, there we go with that. And yeah, because of that lock bar kind of thing, I really cannot use that to flick this knife open, just straight up. Whereas, yeah, no problems whatsoever going on with this guy here. Let's see, different grips. We got the reverse, so the pairing grip for also doing reverse or chest liver sort of things. There, that ends up working out quite well. I've said the saber grip is good there, as well as a choked up position. Both of them work out all right. The jimping pretty much only, at least for my hands, works in the standard grip there though, but that's okay. Pinch grip, also nice. The handle fills out the hand pretty nicely, and I don't have any super pointy areas or anything like that. And yeah, I mean, if you want to do a reverse hammer grip on this guy, it's nice and comfortable to do that with. With this guy here, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of just how much lock bar access you have there, but it ends up working out okay with the saber grip. I do feel that I really do need to choke up on here to get a full forefinger grip on here. However, like I said, I would appreciate some jimping for that. Very, very comfortable in a pinch grip, so that's all sorts of good. And because of the curve to it, it's not too bad with that kind of paring grip. However, the blade shape is a little odd for some of that. So I don't know how useful that might or might not be for you, but I'll throw that in there one way or another. The other thing that does kind of annoy me here is just how late the blade ends up um, interacting with the lock bar. Like here's where I am getting the detent to interact with the blade, whereas it's much sooner here on the TwoSun. Makes that very easy and confident once you've moved the blade a little bit to know you're over that detent. Whereas this guy, I constantly fumble with it. Like I thought I would have been over it by then, and I'm just not. So something that could probably easily be addressed if they wanted to do a V2 of that sort of thing, where they would, for the most part, just change how they've done the hardened steel insert here to change where that detent is, and then of course change where that is on the tang. Doesn't seem like it's out of the ordinary to be able to do any of that sort of stuff there. And both of them you can, I suppose, get to the blade if you really want, but neither one of them is really that much of an issue. So, yeah, overall, actually, let me look at some weights here. The 129 is 4.06 ounces. And the Black Mirror is 3.58 or 3.6 ounces. So, it is a little bit heavier here. But of course, not a huge difference either way of, like a half ounce sort of thing. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the front scale on here isn't, titanium. It is a much lighter material, being the carbon fiber. But because of that, saving that weight and all that sort of stuff, for the most part, I do like the little bit of extra blade length that you end up getting from the 129. Neither one of which I find to be uncomfortable, large or heavy. If you're wearing some, summer lighter clothing or something like that. So yeah, for me personally, I much prefer the TS129 over the Black Mirror here. It's not a bad knife, but I do have some of those problems with it that I've covered in the video. It is kind of difficult to use that thumb hole in the on the show side there due to some of the lock bar interfaces with the blade. The detent's really late. Unfortunately, at least for my specimen, the heat treat is subpar for what I would expect from the company, and yeah, that's basically all I really wanted to cover there. It's just between the two of them, this guy is quite a bit larger for not much more weight. Just feels a bit more comfortable or capable. That's the word I'm looking for, not necessarily comfortable. Both of them have great ergonomics. Both of them are kind of that sheep's footy blade. This guy almost looks like it has like a little kind of a hint of they were thinking about doing a recurve on it. But yeah, they both have a fairly similar blade kind of configurations where they curve up and they're kind of that modified sheep's foot. But if we put them heel to heel here, we can see we do have quite a bit more cutting length overall from this guy. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to cover. Was I was interested in this guy for a long time. I've heard a lot of great things on it, and there are some good things about it. However, for me, overall, I really do think that the TS129 is probably a better way to go. And this is one of their few kind of what I would consider to be perennial models where they do newer runs of them, so Not usually too difficult to find, and of course, if you can get some that are newer, ones for the most part that if they have the model number on there, which we don't actually on this. That's interesting because this is quite a bit newer. But yeah, a lot of times you can tell a newer or rerun TwoSun if they have the model number printed on the backside because they didn't for a very, very, very long time. And those older ones, you have a much higher likelihood chance of not having a stellar heat treat. Whereas they have improved that over the last couple of years. But most of those are fairly easily seen by having the model number printed on the blade, signifying that it's a newer model or a newer run. So there you go. Either way, neither one of these is really the stellar epitome of M390 performance. Straight up, that's just the case. You're going to get a heck of a lot more mileage out of something like this Benchmade. It's 20 CV, which is chemically the same as M390. They just do a much better heat treat on them. That does make them a lot more expensive because they do have to, or it does take more abrasion and time to be able to grind blades from them after the fact, which is why a lot of companies will run them kind of softer, but still. Neither one of these guys are really going to make you sad and think that you didn't even get a powder metallurgy steel. They're both pretty fantastic, just not absolutely primo, cream of the crop as far as the heat treat goes. But there you go. At least they are, because they're M390, almost not able to be corroded or rusted or anything like that because they have 20% chromium. Not all of that acts just as the stainless sort of stuff in there. There are of course going to be chromium carbides and stuff like that. That's part of this guy that ends up also having kind of a refined grain structure. Blah blah blah. No one really cares. All I'm saying is that this is both of these guys are basically middling M390. They both end up working out all right, but I do think that at least my particular copy of the 129 ends up edging out this guy over here. So those are my thoughts. I'm sure many people aren't going to agree with that, and that's perfectly fine. And if you're hate watching it or writing me comments, hey, at least you're engaging with the channel. So there you go. And I don't really think I'm saying anything that's kind of off base, just maybe a little bit left of center of what maybe someone's thoughts or opinions are, who may or may not have actually owned both of these guys and been able to touch them at the same time. So, alrighty, there we go. There was my comparison here between the Maxace Black Mirror and the TwoSun TS129. Both good knives, but I think one's probably just a little bit gooder as far as I'm concerned. Alrighty, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. And like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. Alrighty, I'll just throw that out there. Catch y'all in the next one.